Lesson 5-8. Okay? We're going to review fractions and solving equations with fractions. Specifically, multiplications and division equations, okay? So, equations that have a fraction in it. And so we're not going to be able to add or subtract in order to solve these. This is 5 times a equals 1/7. Okay? 5 times a equals 1/7. And so there's no addition or subtraction in this equation. And you're not going to use addition or subtraction to solve it. Alright? Let's review first of all, what is this number called? Look up here. In an equation, when you have a number right next to a variable, what is that number called? And what does it tell you?
Coefficient.
That's the coefficient of the variable. Yep. It's called the coefficient of A in this case. 5 is the coefficient. It's positive and it's a whole number. Right? Now, what we're going to have to do whenever there's a fraction in order to solve is we're going to have to use multiplication of fractions. And so the first thing we have to do is convert all the numbers to fractions. So if we are starting with a whole number, you have to write that whole number over 1 in order to convert it to a fraction. Where's your notes? Okay, good. So highlight that. First of all, highlight that this is the coefficient. And highlight that 5 over 1 is how you convert that to a fraction. Okay? Strike one. That's already there. Now, what we have to do to solve with a fraction, or to eliminate the fraction and change it to 1, so we have 1 of the variable, is we have to multiply that fraction times its reciprocal. Okay? So, start on the side with the variable and multiply this number, this coefficient, by its reciprocal. So if we have 5 over 1 times a, we multiply 5 over 1 times 1 over 5. 5 over 1 and 1 over 5 are what, Ariana?
Coefficient.
Reciprocals, yep. And when you multiply them, you get 1. And then 1a equals whatever's on the other side. Now, in order to find the answer on the other side, you have to multiply it by the same number. So we multiply by 1 over 5 on the left side. You have to multiply by 1 over 5 on the right side in order to find the solution. 1 over 7 times 1 over 5 is 1 over 35. And so A equals 1 over 35. And if we check that, we start with 5 over 1 times 1 over 35. You would get 1 over 7. Okay? Are you with me so far?
Yeah.
No? We found the coefficient. We wrote it over 1 to make it a fraction, because the other number is a fraction. And then multiplied by its reciprocal on both sides. Okay? Why do you use the reciprocal of the coefficient of the variable? That's a lot of words. Why do you use the flipped fraction, or the reciprocal of the coefficient of the variable? Let's solve it. When you multiply a number by its coefficient, what do you automatically get? 1. 1 of the variable. That's why you use the coefficient. Or you find the coefficient and use its reciprocal. Okay? Let's go over here. This one starts with a negative mixed number. So if we have a negative mixed number, the first step is to convert all the numbers to fraction form. How do you convert -1 5/8 to a fraction? Jen?
Multiply the whole number by the denominator and then add the numerator.
Good. Yep. Take the whole number, multiply it by the denominator, add the numerator, and write it over the denominator. So -1 times 8 plus 5 is -13 over 8. Okay? You really don't have to worry about the negative sign. You can just find the numbers and make the whole thing negative. Emily? Yeah, dot. Yeah, and I'm just showing you. You can write that -1 5/8 is equal to -13/8 without putting the little plus and times sign. That's just a review of how to convert those. Okay. Now we go back to the problem, and we have a negative coefficient. Okay. If you're starting with a negative coefficient, how can you get a positive n or a positive 1n? You're going to have to use a negative reciprocal in order to get a positive n. So if the coefficient is negative, then the reciprocal is also going to be negative. Okay? Think about why that is. Why do you have to use a negative reciprocal with a negative coefficient? You better just put this away for now. Daria?
Negative times negative equals positive.
Good, because negative times negative equals positive. Yep, that's exactly right. So, when we multiply by the negative reciprocal on both sides, we have to convert. We started with -13 over 8 times n equals 26. And then we had to write 26 over 1 in order to multiply it by -8/13. Okay? Fractions times fractions. You always have to multiply fractions times fractions. Not mixed numbers times fractions. But you have to convert all the numbers to fractions in order to multiply. And then you get n equals -16. Alex?
So pretty much, if there's a mixed number, you just change it to the fraction,
Yep.
and then you take that fraction
Yep.
on one side and then flip it, and
Yep.
then cross them out, and
Right.
then take the normal, like the first one, not the flipped one, and multiply it or divide.
No. Once you flip it and multiply, you multiply by the same number on the other side. Okay?
You do. So
When you flip it, that tells you what number to multiply on both sides. So we have -13/8. If you flip it, you have -8/13, right? And that's the number you multiply on both
So
sides.
you multiply the flipped.
Yes.
Okay.
You multiply the flipped one on both sides. By whatever's on the other side, yeah. By whatever, everything on the right side. Happens to be just 26 in this case. Yep. Let's practice. All right. So we have to use the procedure here, and this is the same procedure you're going to have to use. We're going to convert both numbers to fractions first. So write both numbers over 1. Right, 8 over 1 times x equals 12 over 1. Okay? Then, put parentheses around the 8 over 1, x, and multiply it by 1 over 8. Write 1 over 8 next to it.
What?
Put parentheses around it to show multiplication, and then write 1 over 8 next to it. Because 1 over 8 is the reciprocal of 8 over 1. And then put parentheses around the 12 over 1 and write 1 over 8. Then cross out the, go back to the other side, to the left side. Cross out the 8s. And write x underneath it. Because 8 over 1 times 1 over 8 is x. It's just 1x. 8 over 1x times 1 over 8. All that's left is 1x. Then on the right side, 12 over 1 times 1 over 8 can be reduced. So, yep. Let's say that we write this differently and write 8 as 4 times 2 and write 12 as 4 times 3.
7.
What could you cross out of 4 times 2 and 4 times 3? What's the same in both? The 4s. Back to the 4s. And you're left with 3 over 2. Okay? And so you could write it as 1.5, or you could leave it as 3/2. Either one, actually. Because 3/2 is still in simplest form. And since all we need is simplest form here, we're not answering a problem-solving question.
Yes, I get it.
You can just leave the numbers as they are. Now, x equals 3 over 2 and 8 over 1 times 3 over 2 equals 12, and that is true. Again, if we factor out the 2's, 4 times 3 is 12.
I'll make.
Did everyone get this?
Well, wait.
Did you copy it? Yeah, of course I want to.
And number 6. Can we do 2, 4, 6? Because you're all different.
Yep. Alex.
How, so you said you multiplied
Use a pencil. What?
would you multiply the 12 in the 1 and then the 8 in the 1?
Well, what we did was, instead of doing 12 times 1, we simplified first.
Because,
Okay.
so there was a 1, so you could just like, since you don't really need to times it by 1 because it would just be the same.
Yes.
So if that wasn't a 1, and there was like,
No, I know we get it.
multiply it after simplifying it.
Yeah.
So if it was like 12 over 2 and
Try
then
to. Hey, I'm trying to help Alex, and he's got some really good questions, and I think you can all learn from the discussion. So please be quiet and pay attention, okay? It only makes sense to do that. That would be the best decision for you.
So if it was 12 over 2 and 2 over 8, then you'd simplify it and then multiply the simplified?
Yes, yeah. Always simplify first and then multiply, okay? Yep. Simplify first and then multiply. Okay, let's try number 2. That one's already written in fraction form. So, start on the side with the variable. Put parentheses around the 1/2 x. And write 2 over 1. And you can cross off the 2's. You're left with x. Then put parentheses around the 3 over 4 and write 2 over 1.
Oh, I
And then factor 2 over 4 to 1 over 2.
Yeah, it's the exact same.
Yep, so this is also 3
Oh,
over
it's
2.
3, 2?
3.
Woo! I am smart, everybody.
So 1/2 times 3 over 2 equals 3 over 4, that's true.
So for a negative, would you make the switch it to still 90, right?
Yes, yep. Number 3, you're starting with a negative, so you have to multiply with a negative. Negative 5 over 4. The reciprocal of negative 4 over 5 is negative 5 over 4. Cross out the 5s and the 4s, and you're left with y. Positive y, because negative times negative is positive.
Oh,
And
it's
then negative 5 over 4
It's 5 and then simplify.
times negative 1 over 3.
I know, but simplify.
There's nothing we
It's
can
5
factor out of this one.
It's 5 12 to 5 12.
So you just multiply. Negative.
I did
Negative
this,
5.
no.
Negative 5. No, because it's
No,
negative.
negative 5 12. Alex.
It's positive.
So when you check it, negative 4 over 5 times positive 5 over 12 is going to be negative, so we know that the solution has to be positive. And factor the 5s, factor the 4 and 12 to 1 and 3. Okay. Number 4. Put 5 over 1. 5 is a whole number, so put it over 1. And multiply it by the reciprocal, 1 over 5. Cross out the 5s. Multiply by 1 over 5 on the other side. So h equals, and now factor out
22. It's 22.
2
Over
and 1.
Negative 2.
So this is
It's
negative.
It's negative
2
2
over
over 11.
11.
What? 2 11s.
Not 11.
And so let's check it. 5 over 1 times negative 2 over 11 equals negative 10 over 11.
What?
Oh, you crossed that.
Oh, you crossed that.
My B.
Make sure you circle your solution.
Everybody. I'm okay.
Nate, use a pencil. I said that to you once already. Use a pencil, or you're going to have to redo it. Okay?
You get a gun.
Switch to a pencil now.
You get a gun.
Yep. Number 5. So, negative 3 over 14. We have to multiply by negative 14 over 3. Cross off the numbers, and we're left with J. Now on this side, we have a mixed number. So you've got to convert that first. This is negative 9 over 7.
Do we have to turn the whole mixed number into a heavy fraction?
What?
You have to turn the mixed number into a top heavy fraction.
Where?
You already did that. That's why I got mine.
So it's a mixed number. The first step in this, Daria, the first step when we're solving these is to make all the numbers fractions.
I know, but I said.
So if it's a mixed number, you have to make it a fraction. Yep. Now, factor out. This is 1 and 2. 9 over 3 is 3 over 1. So J equals 6 over 1. Positive 6 over 1. Or just positive 6. Let's check it. Negative 3 over 14 times 6 over 1 equals, it should be negative 9 over 7. Because if we factor this, 14, 6 over 14 is really 3 over 7, which is negative 9 over 7. That's true. Okay? Now, you can see that you really need to stop and think. You cannot rush through these. Okay? Especially when you're doing the check. There's nothing complicated, or there's nothing hard about the numbers. What's hard is slowing down and making sure that you multiply. What's negative 3 times 3? What is 14 over 7? And you factor that. What is 9 over 3? And you factor that. What's a negative times a negative? That's a positive. The hard part is making sure that you don't miss all those little steps, all those little details in this. Okay? Do number 6 for Monday, and then we're going to do 7 through 10 together in class. Okay? Do number 6 for Monday.
And that is how Jesus is